So, Persona. I'm sure most people know of the series after Persona 5 exploded in popularity upon release, or Joker's inclusion in Smash Bros. But during the past 2 years or so, I fell in love with this series after years of getting recommended games left and right. In all honesty, I love each of the games in their own way, but one of them that stands out to me the most is Persona 3 Portable. To an outsider or new Persona fan, it may seem like another adaptation slash port of Persona 3 story, but for the PSP and downgraded for the system. Hell, I even thought the same way when I was first told about it. But after playing it, I realized that's not the case. Let me explain. Okay, I stressed this beforehand, but major spoilers for the Persona series in general. This series is better enjoyed blind, and I don't want to be the guy that spoils it. So please play the games if any of them interest you. Also, I recommend that you've either played or are familiar with Persona 3 in general, because context is key. Before I get into Persona 3 Portable's meat and potatoes, I want to give a little context to my relationship with Persona 3 specifically. I swear this is important. Persona 3 was the first Persona game I heard of. Somehow, I don't know how that happened. A few years later, I began to watch a friend play through Persona 4. I believe it was Golden to be specific. It caught my interest and I began to play it as well. Also, I had a better excuse to buy Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle. I'm a Ruby obsessed dork, but my first solo Persona game was Persona 5 Royal. Stay with me on this. So at the time I was pretty used to the mechanics of those games. Then I played Persona 3 FES. Oh boy, where do I start? First of all, I was never told that the party members were AI controlled, and it just made for a slightly annoying experience. I did get used to it over time. The tactics menu is your best friend. This just made trekking through Tartarus much more of a learning curve in hindsight. But also, no wonder Atlas left AI party members optional in later games. Second, I was not a big fan of playing, and I cannot stress enough, playing the answer in FES. Now, I like the concept and the story of the answer, but it's nothing but a grind fest. Honestly, you're better off watching the 15-hour or something playthrough of just the answer. You don't need to play it. You really don't need to play it. Finally, Mitsuru. Look, this may seem like a weird thing to know, but just Persona 3 things. Alright, enough context. Let me talk about Persona 3 Portable. Let's start with a brief rundown of the game. Persona 3 Portable follows the same story as Persona 3 or The Journey in FES. You, the main character, are returning to school after a tragic accident that killed your parents 10 years ago. With your return, you join a group called the Specialized Extracurricular Execution Squad, or SEES for short. Their goal is to investigate and put an end to the Dark Hour. Few people are aware of this since most of them are transmogrified into coffins when midnight strikes. You and SEES can summon personas, and you do this by
Persona.
Yes, by burning your bread. Hey, that's enough for a refresher. I don't want to feel like I'm reading the Persona 3 Wikipedia page to y'all. This part's just meant to be brief. Right off the bat, P3P has the same story as P3 and P3 FES. So why is it so notable? You can change the protagonist's gender. Please don't click off the video just yet. Though this may seem like a little gimmick that RPGs have been doing way before P3P even existed, but in this game, just choosing the main character's gender will change huge aspects of the story. The changes range from the look of your main persona, Orpheus, to having the ability to prevent a character's death. Damn, who knew gender could create such a butterfly effect on the story? Speaking of the butterfly effect, that's the main message of the intro that plays right when you boot up the game, along with Persona 3's iconic use of the Latin phrase memento mori. On the topic of P3P's intro, it's just one of my favorite Persona intros ever, just behind the original for Persona 3. The use of split shots and mirrored images that show the two sides of just choosing the protagonist's gender is perfectly represented in this intro. The best shots have to be the two Tauruses coming together to create a crescent moon, and the shot of the two protagonists in coffins, evokers drawn to their heads before pulling the trigger. I cannot get over how amazing the visuals are for a game originally released on the PSP. Right, if you played it on one, this is what it would look like. Also, it's significantly better than Fess's intro. If you know, you know. The song Soul Phrase is a straight up banger, and the full version's one of the best songs Persona has to offer. Now, I don't know if this was an accident or not, but watching the intro upside down is such a cool experience. Don't ask me how I discovered this, just trust me. My only gripe in the intro is the shot with the two Orpheuses. Orpheusai? What's plural of Orpheus? It was a bit too much for me, and it took me a few rewatches to realize it was them. Maybe if they didn't try to fit them into text, I would have noticed them quicker, but Persona's kind of known for having quick little blink and you'll miss it moments in their intros. In all honesty, I could go on and on about this intro, so maybe I could make a huge Persona intro analysis video? Now onto the gameplay. The gameplay is a mixed bag, if I'm being honest. The game couldn't do the same things as its PS2 counterparts could. It was initially released on the PSP, and it's pretty much two games in one. I can't stress that enough because of the recent port of P3P on like every console known to man. So some moments are weaker compared to their original counterparts. A notable example is Shinjiro's death. We're ripping off the band-aid, aren't we? The game took a more visual novel-style approach in the non-combat portions, which I'm completely fine with. To some, this is an automatic turn-off, especially if you're used to how games like Persona 3 look and work. Portable's battle system's also my favorite Persona 3 battle anything, because it took elements from Persona 4's battle mechanics, until I play Persona 3 Reload, which isn't out yet. Again, this is a key reason to why I like the game to begin with. It gave me a reason to use Mitsuru, my beloved, in battle more. Now, the social links are where I start to see more changes depending on which route you choose. This includes new characters that are not present in P3 and P3 Fest links. My favorite new social link has to be Sayori Hasegawa, the hermit of P3P. I'll link Feather's video in the description because I think he covers a lot of the things I was going to cover about her in a much more concise way. A problem with Persona 3 I always had was the lack of male party member social links, but Portable fixes this by giving us exactly that. Though it's only for the female route, I appreciate seeing new sides to characters like Akihiko, Junpei, Ryoji, etc. With the inclusion of this, that means we get male dating routes. Yippee! I know dating in Persona games is basically there because of it's a social sim, but it's a huge factor to the fandom's waifu wars, and it's been going on since Persona 1. Side note, why the fuck can you date Ken? He's 11? Man, Atlas should have removed this in the re-release. I do have a mod that patches this, and I would say it's a requirement to play with it, especially if you're playing the modern re-release. So who was my Persona 3 portable husbando? None of them? Yeah, I said it. None of them? But what I did do was date the women of Seas. Wait, how did I do that if I played the female route mostly? Mods. Surprisingly, P3P had a rather small modding scene before the re-release came out, and now there's just mods for everything. I first found this out when I was recommended a video showing off a trans Naoto mod for Persona 4 Golden. In the description, I found a Tumblr page showing off different mods, mostly for Naoto and their identity. Right at the top of the list, there was a mod that allows you, as the female protagonist, to date the women of Seas. And seeing this, I was like,
yes! 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 I got 2 free tacos!
Some sim for Seas girls! Yeah, I played it to eventually date all 3 of them, since I guess we'll love you regardless of your gender. I don't exactly counter. I'll link this mod and the re-release counterpart in the description if this just interests you in general. But seriously, this is one of my favorite mods, and it just fills me with so much joy as a lesbian. Don't worry, there's a gay mod for you men enjoyers out there. I know you're watching this. Jay, I can never pronounce your names on social media because it's Russian. I know you're watching this. Hi Jay, hi. I know this aspect shouldn't count to the reason why I enjoyed this game, but I'm gonna count it anyways. This is my video. Now let's talk about the music. The Persona games are also known for their amazing and catchy music. And of course, P3P has amazing songs. Aside from featuring the original Persona 3 soundtrack, it also added a new list of songs that would play exclusively for the female protagonist. I feared that the new songs would be too apparent, but they blend in perfectly, and it fits the early 2000s style of P3 music, and each track is amazing. I have the soundtrack playing in the background of this video to prove my point. My favorite tracks have to be Soul Phrase and A Way of Life. When I first heard Wiping L out, I was disappointed that they used it to replace Mass Destruction, because what's Persona 3 without Mass Destruction? But as I kept playing it, it grew on me. I mean, without that song, we wouldn't get the amazing lyric.
Three dots connect to rectangles.
Yes, this is real. Thank you to our Lord and Savior Lotus Juice. We can add this poetry to the Hall of Fame. Another thing to know is that Persona 3 Portable's music has been used in other Persona 3 related media perfectly. One that comes to mind is Persona 3 The Weird Masquerade. I'm making a separate video talking about this along with the other Persona live stage productions because not that many people know of them and their existence. And they're really, really cool, guys. Please watch that video when it comes out. Now let's talk about P3P's newest protagonist. It may seem strange to study a character that's meant to be quiet so you, the player, feel immersed, but during my time playing the game, I noticed some interesting traits unique to the female protagonist. Also, I just want an excuse to talk about her in general. Let me have this. Also, to make things easier, I'll be calling the protagonist Kitona Shiomi here because that's her canon name. And I'm getting sick of referring to her as female protagonist, or femc. I know she has a variety of names and each of them are completely valid, but I don't care. This is my video essay. Rotobai Kitone is the polar opposite of the male protagonist from other versions of Persona 3. Her design, personality, and her persona's appearance show how vastly different she is. Hell, even the game's overall color palette changes from blue to pink when you play her route. Initially, I was not a fan of this change, cause what's Persona 3 without blue? But over time, the change grew on me, and I understand why this happened, or at least my interpretation of it. Kitone's design features warmer colors like her auburn hair, her red eyes. She even has red headphones. These aspects carry over to the game's color scheme and her alternate outfits, where she has more warmer colors like various shades of red and orange. This is important to note because warm colors are associated with optimism and even strong feelings of violence. Both of them can be used to describe Kitone's overall personality, or at least what we see of it. A detail I see many people miss are her hairpins. They form the Roman numeral 22. In tarot, this is the Fool, though not with the usual number 0 associated with the Arcana. The number is meant to be the Fool after their journey. As for reading within the context of Persona 3, the Fool at number 22 embraces their mortality rather than, well, dreading it. Throughout the game, the dialogue options and limited spoken lines show parts of her personality. Kitone is notably more bubbly and upbeat when compared to her male counterpart. I mean, the phrase "I don't care" is like this guy's favorite thing to say right next to 2000s emo music he listens to and sleeping. These personality traits are very intriguing to me when compared to the other Persona protagonists, which tend to lean more on the introverted side. She's honestly on par with Persona 2's Maya in Mono, though Kitone's optimism is nowhere near Maya's. You can tell I don't have much to go off of. Playable female main characters in this series is practically non-existent, and I want more of them. Please, Persona 6, Persona 7, Atlas, please? Another aspect that makes Kitone interesting is her weapon. Persona protagonists tend to have swords, but Kitone, Maya, and Joker are the only ones to go against the grain. Kitone's weapon is a Naginata. I could go into the ins and outs of this weapon, but I don't want to go off on a tangent of the Sengoku period. Overall, Kitone Shiomi is an interesting Persona protagonist, and I consider her to be one of my favorites of the bunch. Shout out to all my Kitone enjoyers out there. I know you're watching this. As previously stated, Persona 3 Portable makes quite a few changes, especially seen in the female route. Think of this as a miscellaneous section of things I want to talk about but couldn't find a place to put them in, or they wouldn't work as their own section. This is just a little ramble corner for me, if I'm being honest. Let's start with Katone's Velvet Room attendant, Theodore. Theo is exclusive to the female route and is the only male attendant in the Persona series to date. Another thing I found out is that Elizabeth can be your attendant in this route. I always thought Theo was Katone's assigned attendant regardless of your choice. Now I will always choose Elizabeth over him. Elizabeth is my favorite Velvet Room attendant. She's just so damn fun in this game that's so depressing. I enjoyed Theo's presence in the game. He's kind of like a gender-bent version of Liz, especially in his antics. Also, I like his character design as a whole. Something about the darker blues in his design make him stand out from his sisters. I don't have much else to say about him. Again, sorry Theo. Okay, I'm going to talk about this game in Shinjiro. As I said before, you can save him in the female route if you max out a social link before October 4th. He'll be in a coma as a result of surviving Takaya's gunshot, and I theorize that he shortly dies after the protagonist does. To be honest, I'm on the fence about this. This isn't the first time Persona 3 has done the whole saving a dead character thing. In P3 Fest and P3P, you can save Chidori, but you have to meet specific requirements for this to happen in both versions. So, this is one of the most controversial parts of Persona 3 Portable. Shinjiro is a significant character to the overall story. I mean, his death has a massive impact on C's, but it hits Akihiko and Ken the hardest, and it causes their personas to evolve during their grieving processes. Hell, the same argument could be made about Chidori's death and Junpei's persona's evolution. The change only exists in the female route, a world that's an alternate universe to the canon of Persona 3 according to Q2 in the greater SMT timeline. I've heard both sides of this argument, and it's been in the back of my head ever since I first played this game. I don't see many people talk about this, and I think it should be a crime. You know how in Persona 4, how you can visit Tatsumi Port Island, and you can go to other locations from Persona 3? Well, in the female route, you do this, but instead you go to Inaba to train with the Yasagami High School Sports Club. This section also foreshadows future events in Persona 4, and you even get a cameo of a younger Yukiko. A portrait's also included, and oh my god, she's so damn cute. Also, Vincent from Catherine is here. Don't think I didn't forget him. Persona 3 Portable is a game I love dearly. Why do you think I made this video? The game has its flaws, but I look past them and it doesn't interfere with my enjoyment. Who knows, I could be crazy for even liking this game. P3P shows how much effort would have to be put in if future Persona games have the protagonist's gender up to the player, from changes in dialogue, story, additional soundtracks, etc. Like, imagine if Persona 5 had the choice of a female route. Yeah, knowing that game's development, that game just wouldn't exist, straight up. Most people see this game as technically not canon, or the game with FemC. Also, those people are massive hypocrites. Again, this is the SMT timeline. This is where Persona breaks off. Other times I see it brought up in debates on which Persona 3 game should get the remastered treatment. I think P3P is better from a personal standpoint, and I want more people to give it a chance or at least acknowledge it beyond the points I mentioned previously. In all honesty, Persona 3 Fest is the way to go when it comes to the full Persona 3 experience, or when P3 Reload comes out. Yeah, it's real and I still have no girlfriend. For reference, I wrote this like 2 years ago. Persona 3 Reload was like a rumor, and I joked, haha, it'll be real when I get a girlfriend, haha. I still have nothing. The game is available along with Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 Royal pretty much anywhere, so don't miss out on an opportunity to play them. But I'll be here if you want to have something new to try that gives Persona 3 a new perspective. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you got this far, I wanted to say a few little things. This took me forever to get this done. It took me so long that the ports were announced for like most of the core Persona games, released, people bitched about them, Reload's now real, so much Persona things happened between me starting this and now. Persona 3 Reload's like literally just around the corner, oh my god. Yeah, I'll be here again with some more Persona related essays, but until next time, see ya!